Tourism as a contributor to our economy. It came to a grinding halt as a result of the global lockdown during COVID. And while it seems that other countries are seeing things get back to pre-pandemic levels in terms of tourism activity, we also seem to be reaching that mark, particularly here in Cape Town. Tourism numbers, according to Cape Town Tourism, have now surpassed pre-COVID levels. It's a major role player in our economy, especially here in the Western Cape. To discuss how the sector is being revived, what are the patterns we're looking at, and also where do we better ourselves? Tourism Minister Patricia de Lille, really appreciate your time and giving us the opportunity, Minister. Thanks so much for joining us. It's a lovely hotel.
Good morning to your listeners also. Lovely to be home.
Let's talk about that, because this is not a ministry of fun times and hotel stays and hopping on planes. Tourism is a contributor to our gross domestic product. We have in previous years, depending how it is categorized by stats, say I've seen reports that tourism has been in the past a contributor of something like 9% of South African GDP. Currently, we're around about 3.94%. This is an industry which is equally as important as the financial services sector, as the minerals and mining sector. Tourism is an integral part of our economy.
Most definitely. I want to start off by thanking all those committed men and women that are working so hard in the sector to make it such a success. We've seen a growth of 6.8 million tourists arriving in our country between January and October. And the contribution to our GDP in terms of spend, the tourists spend over 60 billion rand. So it is a major contributor to our economy. We've also seen that, the country as a whole, we're still about 10% below our 2019 figures, but it is fast growing. It's sort of growing out of the ashes and creating lots of jobs. Yes, we mustn't become complacent. I think we must market our country more aggressively. Recently, we have received many international awards, South Africa being a destination of choice. And so, we have to also diversify our offerings. South Africa is not just about beaches and Table Mountain and safaris. There are a lot more tourist attractions. I call them hidden gems, and I discover them all the time as I travel around the country.
There's the statistics on how much an international tourist spends is quite interesting. I think it's on average 11 days that an international visitor spends in South Africa. The average daily spend is something like 1,400 rand. So we're looking at the average spend of an international visitor, if my mathematics is correct, something like 15,000, 16,000 that an international tourist spends in South Africa. When we look about the cost-benefit analysis of the international marketing campaigns, you came in as minister around about the time of the Tottenham Hotspur deal. Recently, there's been conversation around what the Tourism Marketing Council, their campaign using Trevor Noah. It takes money to attract people to a long-haul destination at the southern tip of Africa.
Most definitely, but I think tourists also realize that they get value for money, especially the euros and the dollars that they come and spend in South Africa. And so investing in marketing our country, we've recently had our second workshop to look at how we can up our marketing campaign to be more aggressive, to make sure that, the fragmentation of marketing South Africa as a destination, we're working on that, pulling our resources together. Government's role is clearly defined now. We've got a wonderful partnership with the private sector. Government's role must be to make sure that we deal with the regulations, with legislation, with anything that's in the way of the growth of tourism, to ensure that we create the conditions conducive for the private sector to create those jobs. And I found a big trust deficit between the private sector and the public sector, but we're working on it. And it is just taken off with all the organizations, from hospitality to SATSA, which is dealing with incoming tourists, the hoteliers, everyone, we're all pulling together now and making sure that we put South Africa on the map. My message to them daily, I say to them, listen, the world owes us nothing. We have to go out there and we have to market ourselves.
You can spend millions, if not billions, on a marketing campaign.
Yes.
But word of mouth travels
It's still
faster.
the best.
Word of mouth at the moment,
In
and the
Afrikaans, they
perception,
say bekkoerant.
and that big courant is talking about the negative perception of South Africa when it comes to crime and criminality. The conversation around Table Mountain National Park,
Yes.
a main driver of attraction in the city of Cape Town, is unsafe.
Yeah.
This is not just an economic driver. This tourism also deals with the social ills of South
Yeah.
Africa. Even long before you can spend millions on an ad campaign, people are
Yes.
talking to their families back at home saying, I had a terrible experience because all I hear, all I see, all I feel is crime and criminality. That's important to talk about.
Definitely, we regret, the attack on any tourist that's fallen a prey to crime in our country. But we are not sitting back and not doing anything about it. In partnership with the private sector, from government side, we've invested 174 million to employ 2,300 tourism monitors, and for across the country. And I launched the program 2 days ago in Hazyview, just next to the Kruger National Park. But specifically in the Western Cape will receive 250. And then sand parks nationally will receive 350 tourism monitors, of which out of their allocation of sand parks, we're taking 70 tourism monitors just to be responsible for Table Mountain up to Signal Hill, to help with the patrols, to guide tourists, to use the authorized routes to go up to the mountain, because some of these attacks also happen there. So we must, and with the help of the hotels, that we're giving out safety tips where it's not safe. And the partnership between the private sector and government, we're really doing everything in our power to make sure that Table Mountain is safe.
Minister, we have John calling from Tableview. Good morning, John. How are you?
Good morning to you, Lester. Good morning, Minister. Minister, my reason for phoning in is twofold. First of all, to congratulate you during your term so far on the amount of promotion and traveling, as you say, that you have done. You've really made a difference and a positive input to the tourism industry from all the national bodies that we have in this country, and you're keeping things very well under control. My second reason for phoning is to say that we have a big debacle, I believe, with visas in this country. It's a bit of a swear word with tourists. With the lack of places to get visas, the application system, I have a hospitality consultant who's coming down from Abuja, and he's waited 3 weeks for a visa to come here. After a lot of pressure with the consulate in Abuja, it was finally granted yesterday afternoon. He's already made his bookings for his accommodation. He wants to invest 10 million rand in a property here in South Africa for his holidays. And it seems that the government is still in this pathetic state of not having e-visas or visas on arrival, or doing away with visas altogether, like Kenya has just now scrapped all visas for tourists entering the country. We should have taken the lead, being South Africa.
John, really appreciate your call, Minister.
John, thank you for the kind words. Yes, indeed. Currently, 132 countries in the world don't need a visa to enter South Africa, or a visa up to 90 days. There are 34 countries that can use e-visa applications, although there are several concerns and problems with the e-visa system. Countries like the UK, the USA, and all of those big source markets, they can arrive. But I will be the first to acknowledge that yes, we do have problems with visas. And I want to say to you, John, that if you know of anyone who is struggling and want to come and invest in our country, who has got a problem in getting a visa, you can contact me directly. I'm working very closely with Minister Motsoaledi to make sure that we attend to these problems. If I can get the specific name and the application number, I can follow it up. There's a special office in Home Affairs called the Corporate Office, set up by Minister Motsoaledi, that also we're working closely there. But I agree with you that we are expecting Minister Motsoaledi, whose mandate it is to deal with visas, that he will soon be publishing new regulations on visas, especially what they call the nomad, working
digital nomad,
working from anywhere in the world. So yes, it is a concern. There are big source markets like India and China, for instance. I've been to China recently, and even as part of the BRICS bloc, India and China is not included in that visa exemption. But it's all work in progress.
Message directly to me, Minister, with people in the industry. Please ask why tour operators' license and permits take almost 2 years to process, Minister.
Well, first of all, I can confess that we've been working with SATSA. There's a very active CEO of SATSA called David Frost. And because of our intervention with SATSA, the backlog of last year of over 1,000 applications has been cleared. What we are sitting with now is that a lot of the people, there are over 400 that applied for tour operating licenses that have not picked them up. And just 2 weeks ago, I made an intervention because the Minister of Transport said we're just going to cancel this. And I've asked David Frost and SATSA to help us to contact those tour operators that can get their licenses. But again, through the intervention of the Department of Tourism, we're working directly with the presidency, Vulindlela, Rudy Dix, and he has helped us to bring the Department of Tourism and Transport together. And so we have cleared most of the backlog. But again, like I was saying, I want that specific tour operator that applied, that is still waiting for that. And then, because for every problem, there must be a solution. And I'm prepared to help with that too.
We do have Jenny who sent a message. She said she had been in touch with you earlier, that there was a voice note that was played and you heard it, you responded to it. You tried to call her the next day, but there was load shedding and she missed your call. And I know you're very busy. Jenny in Observatory, so if Jenny's listening, Minister hopefully will call you and hopefully you don't have load shedding. But the response that I'm getting, of course, there are people concerned about crime. But from many of the operators that I'm seeing, the messages come through, is overwhelmingly positive of the industry. Trevor says, I do airport transfers and I hear from local people returning from the UK and the US that media over there mainly shows South Africa in a positive light, which is quite nice to hear. There's a little bit of brain gymnastics that I'm doing, and maybe it's just us as South Africans. I think I don't know if we're positive or we're negative people. And maybe we have a bad perception of ourselves.
Yes, sometimes we score our own goals.
So what about internal marketing? We should all be billboards, walking billboards for visitors.
You know, I met with the editor of the Daily Telegraph, where the readers of the Daily Telegraph in the UK voted us the best destination to visit and Cape Town the best city to visit. And thank you. But now we're working very closely together. They're helping us to, when our whole crime prevention strategy that we've put in place, they're helping us to get that out to their readers. And the UK is an important market for South Africa. And you know, it's difficult to find a flight between the UK and South Africa nowadays. And we want to thank the UK tourists for that. But what we need to do further is not to now bask in the glory of this awards. And there are several other awards. I was at the World Travel Market in London recently that I have received. So from South African side of view, what is our role and function? Yes, I think we must say as South Africans that we regret any attack on any tourist. But we also have to take further and say what we are doing to help that tourist. You know, we've got an aftercare service for tourists that is being attacked. We now have an app that is being sponsored by the private sector called the Secure app that people can download on their phones when they arrive. So South Africans, we need to share that information. We need to share tips with our travelers. But 99% of our tourists go back home safely and they tell a good story.
We talk often and we focus on international tourism, but local in tourism is important.
It's the bedrock. It's the bedrock.
But let me talk about this. And I don't know how much intergovernmental and we need to work in an intergovernmental approach, because tourism bodies say eThekwini's beach closures because of the poor quality of water is a problem. It's going to affect tourism. KZN and eThekwini is a major tourism market in South Africa. If we don't have municipalities responding to the basic service delivery issues, we're going to have failing local and international tourism. If you don't have interdepartmental, if we don't have the Department of Transport talking to the Department of Tourism, Department of Police talking to Department of Home Affairs simply to deal with visas, then we're going nowhere slowly. But just the report today that says that eThekwini Beach is essentially closed for December, it's going to affect KZN tourism. Maybe a benefit to Cape Town because maybe people will change their holiday plans and come visit here. But that is a key municipal function which is damaging to tourism.
I can agree with you, but you know what is very interesting to look at is that after COVID, for the first time now, the report on the blue-green drop beaches has come out for the first time after COVID. And please have a look at it because it's beaches all over our country, including some beaches in Cape Town. And so you are right to say it is the responsibility of the local municipality to make sure that the E. coli levels and all of that is proper. And there must be some intergovernment relations where we can help each other. Because at the end of the day, it's going to damage our country as a whole. So you will see there are dotted beaches right up the coast of South Africa currently that don't have the blue drop. And municipalities must be incentivized to have programs to achieve that blue drop status. Because that is one of the issues that a tourist will look at before making a booking to come anywhere. I want to go to this beach. What is the status of this beach? With technology now, digital technology, the tourist has got access to all of this information. That is why we have signed this memorandum of agreement now with Google, for instance, one around the safety issues and the routes and There've been after the Cape Town incident and the change that Google made there to their quick routes or shorter routes, some more requests has come in from other places in the country. But the point that you make, Lester, is that it's about working together. Yeah.
Minister Patricia de Lille, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for blocking off half an hour with us.
If Jenny can call me now, I hope you don't have load shedding, Jenny.
Jenny,
I'm going to put my phone on now.
We'll
Thanks
put you
a
in
lot.
touch with John and Jenny on the line up next.
Yes.